Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm very proud to be here to talk to you today. And I want to thank the IT faculty in the University of Benghazi for inviting me over to speak today. I also wish to thank the president of the University of Benghazi and also the honorary president of this conference, Dr. Azzuddin Drusi. My thanks also to the head of IT faculty, Dr. Absalam Matoug, and the organizing and the scientific and steering committees of this conference. I'd like to thank all of you, guests, lecturers, head of departments and presidents of universities. You're very welcome today. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that probably everybody encounters, and that's passwords and the security of passwords. I'll have a quick introduction to passwords. I'll talk about the factors affecting the strength of passwords and the techniques used in cracking passwords by those who try to attack other systems. The most common used passwords, we'll look at them, and password bad practices that a lot of people do, in fact millions of people do around the world, and the new research that just happened quite recently to a colleague of ours who just finished that research and received her PhD. So I'll be referring or pointing to that research, which involves context passwords and context-based password cracking. Finally, I'll just turn to artificial intelligence and cybersecurity in general. So, on the internet, users are increasing, on the increase, obviously, but the rate of increase is tremendous. In the year 2000, there were 413 million people using the internet. And in the year 2016, there were 3.4 billion people using the internet. And almost every one of them uses passwords. And not just one password, a lot of the times, many passwords. So, are they used a lot? Well, definitely passwords are used a lot, and they've been an integral part of authentication and identification for most systems for the last 50 or 60 years since the start of computing. So they've been around for a long time, and many people believe they'll be around for much longer. How safe are passwords? Are they safe? Are they good? Or in fact, they're not. They're not the best way to protect your system or your ID or your information in any organization. But they are easy to use, and most people use it and got used to it. How weak or strong are they? We'll be looking at some of these points. So password management market, because everybody is using passwords and there's so many passwords, and every application you use, it asks you for another password, and you have a password for your Facebook and for your every other social media application, and every bank account and every transaction and every system that you share or use, it has a password. And there's so many passwords, and they're actually causing headache to people. Difficult to manage, difficult to remember, difficult to use, and many times people just give up sometimes and make the wrong choices. So many password management applications came up on the market, and they have a huge market. It's estimated that the business for password management applications is around $7 billion in this year. So let's look at the factors that affect the strength or the weakness of a password. I'll go briefly through it. It's just as an introduction. So first thing, one of the most important things about passwords is the length of the password. So anything less than 8 characters is really not even worth having. 10 characters at least, maybe 12 is really the ideal. So weaker or smaller passwords are very, very weak, and they're not really doing a great job. And we'll see why later. So then there's the structure of the password. Is it made up of just the English alphabet, maybe, or capital and small letters, or numbers as well, or special symbols as well? So the more, the better. So if the password is made up of mixed combination of those characters, capital and small, and numbers and special symbols, they are the better. Also, the logical flow of a password. The logical flow is, many people use memorable phrases. For example, they might say, not everything that shines is gold. And they think that's a great password. So if the phrase is simple, is known by everybody, once maybe the crackers, those who want to break the password, they get the first part of it, they might be able to very simply obtain the rest of it. And there are also many passwords are based on personal information. Many people put their date of birth or their spouse's name or whatever information that's really related to that person. And that makes it much, much easier to crack and break by other, those who are attacking the system. Randomness of words and phrases. That's really a good sign of a password when you use many different unrelated words. But of course, that makes it very difficult to remember for the individual to have. And imagine if you have to remember 10 or 15, which is an average number, passwords. And many people, what they do is instead of using different passwords, they just have one password. And that's even worse, because if that password is cracked, then that person goes to your email, goes to your Facebook, and they change that password, and they can access. Of course, if you're doing transactions from banks, then all your transactions will be gone and will be vulnerable to attacks. So how do those who crack passwords, how do they actually do it? What are the techniques that are used? And the oldest and the most kind of used technique, in the older days at least, is known as the brute force attack. And the brute force attack is try every possible word that can be created. So they have a small computer program that goes around and takes those English characters or the language, whatever language it is used, and they go through those characters and make up every possible word or combination of characters, and they can do millions of them in few seconds. So, and hence we'll talk about the size of the password and its importance. And then there are dictionary attacks, where they know if you use an English word, for example, then they go to an English dictionary and search through it, and they can find that word. And they can kind of go through the word, guess the word, and they can work it out. So, and it's a lot faster. The brute force attack can be very, very slow. But the dictionary attacks is a lot faster way. So if you are trying to find a password, don't use a word that is in the dictionary. Change the spellings or something like that to make it not a dictionary word. And then the hybrid attack that uses a combination of multiple techniques, because some of the techniques are too slow, some of them are not as effective, so they try to use multiple ways, eliminate few, reduce the size of the list, and then go through the smaller list of remaining passwords with a different technique. Rainbow table attacks are encrypted or hash words that the way passwords are also stored is very important. In many cases, programmers, when they write a password, what they write is that they keep a file with all the users' names and all their passwords. And of course, that file in a safe place, but has, like in an organization, you might have a company with 10,000 people and all their names and passwords are on their databases. And it takes one person to go in there and access that file. And they get that file and they have the passwords to all employees or customers in a bank or an insurance company or a military organization. So never, ever keep passwords in their plain format. They need to be either hashed or encrypted, even when they're stored in your own organization. So at least if somebody gets a copy of that file, they will not have access to the actual passwords. They'll still be hidden in a hidden format. Phishing is another technique that's used by many people where they send you an email and they might ask you for information. They tell you we are your bank, and they actually use the same symbols and images that the bank normally sends, and they kind of try to convince you, okay, this is what we are doing for you, and what we need is to re-energize or reactivate your account is you need to log into this, our bank, and it's not our bank, it's a false website that looks like the bank's website. And you go in, they have a link for you. You go in and you type in your password and your ID, and they have it. And they find some excuse. They say, no, everything is good, your account is safe, when it's not. Now they got your password. So this phishing for information. Social engineering is another technique where, again, this happens in large organizations where, for example, a company with 10,000 people, and a new employee who starts, and then the next thing, maybe a few weeks later, they get a phone call and they say, hello, this is Tom from the IT department. We are taking care of maybe whatever it is, the computing system, and we are experiencing some problems. Have you had any problems? And the new employees might say, well, I don't think so. I don't know, maybe. And they say, oh, well, you better check it, look at your machine. Listen, can you do a login for you? What's your ID? And they keep talking to them, convincing them that they are people from downstairs, from the IT department. And they ask them for their ID and their password, and they give it over the phone. So that's another thing. Never, ever give your ID or password ever to anybody. Not even your spouse, not your son, not your daughter. Keep it to yourself. Don't write it down. Another thing is never write passwords down. So I'll have a list of the things maybe that many of us sometimes do and they should not be doing. But let's look at the length of the keyword or the password. I'm just going to give a quick example of two passwords. One is 4 characters long and one is 14 characters long. Just want you to see the difference. How could it be attacked by a computer? The number of possible words or character combinations, 4 character combinations from any language, but let's stick to the English language. The English language has 26 characters. So if I say, make me a word out of 4 characters, and we have a program that will make every 4 words that can be made from the English language. And how many possible words? Well, you know, some people will be able to work it out very quickly. It's 26 to the power of 4. That's the first character there has only 26 possibilities. The first character can be any number or any character between A and Z. And then if you have the A, then you go to the second character and can have 26 possibilities. I won't go through the details, but here's the number. There are 456,976 words that you can make out of an English language, and each one of them can have 4 characters, and some of them might be duplicated. I see people from statistics approving. They know the formula is correct. Thank you. So now, how long will a computer take to generate? Remember, if somebody wants to break an application, and they have the application, download it, put it on your computer, and run this program, and this program starts sending a login forwards and starts creating the word and sending. And of course, it's refused, and maybe at number 400,000, we get it and say, yeah, so we get it. But how long will it take a computer to do that? it'll take a few seconds to generate 456,000 different words. Now, let's look at the other example with the 14 characters, using the English language, 26 possible characters. So, to generate it, the formula here, this is the number that I can't even read. It's a huge number. That'll take a computer months, if not years, to reach that number, to try every possible value. That's known as brute force attack. So the number of possible words or combinations made of any character can be made even worse. If we say, in the English alphabet, there are capital letters and small letters. So now we can have, instead of 26, we can have 52 characters. And that will just suddenly increase all the possibilities as well. And if we also include numbers, if we do have both include either capital or small letters, this is the number we get, is 72,759 with 22 zeros in front of them. It's a big number. It'll take a computer many years to actually create that list. And that's really the difference between a large password and a small password. And this table here shows very quickly, if we use numbers only, if your password is just numbers, it has no characters. So you're using the numbers from 0 to 9. That's all you have. And you make any password, and on the left column it shows here, well, if I make 4 numbers, how long will it take computer to do it? Instantly. That's less than a second. All possible numbers. If you had 8 numbers, all the different numbers you can write out of 8 digits. Out of those 0 to 9 numbers, but how many 8 digits you can create? Still, computer can create them instantly. When you get to 9, it gets to 4 seconds. Now he's just going into 4 seconds. So still very weak, and the password can be broken if it's just numbers. But if we go into